Hey guys, Shane Simmons here, and the next video here took me forever to edit. I had all kinds of problems with it. Had to chop out a whole section, in fact, where I talk about the book and movie called The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. And so I wanted to acknowledge that book and movie here. I haven't read the book, so I have to talk about the movie, but it was, it's hard to describe that. It's kind of dark, but it certainly wasn't feel good necessarily. But it was a good movie about overcoming obstacles and perseverance and challenges in life. But I do recommend checking that out. I thought it was entertaining, and part of it was cast in Welch, West Virginia. So I did want to mention that part, and then there's a couple other choppy parts in here, but for the most part, it come out about as good as it can. So hope you enjoy it. Welch is a great town. You need to check it out if you're interested at all in coal history. It doesn't get any bigger than Welch, West Virginia. So without further ado, here we go. Okay, friends and neighbors, Shane Simmons, the Appalachian Project, coming at you, coming into Welch from the Gary side. And unfortunately, the Long John Silver's is out of business, and it's sad. Last time I was here, it was open. And it's been a few years, but it's pretty bad shape then, but I was hoping it'd still be around. It's not your problem, but anyway. Welch, man, there's tons of history here. Tons and tons, and I will not, in any way, shape, form, or fashion, do this place justice. I want to say that up front before people attack me in the comments, because, good Lord, I'm going to miss half the story here. Welch is just a gold mine of history, from the mine wars, President Kennedy, you name it, all the coal history that comes through here. But this was my original destination today, so I'm glad I finally hit town. And as you can see, Welch has been hammered population-wise. I'm anxious to see the developments, because I know they've been working to clean the town up, so to speak. Or the city, I should say. So I'm going to pull up here to this Freedom thing. It's got a very interesting history, but there you can see the sign, the Welch sign. Welcome sign. I'll tell you a little bit more of that story here when I get out of the car. So as promised, here's the French gratitude train, and I will put the story to this in the comments, because I don't remember it off the top of my head perfectly, and I don't want to do it that injustice of botching the whole story. But long story short is the French government sent a few of these into the United States to different cities, and not a whole lot of them, and I don't know how many exist anymore. Not many, I don't think, at all. Again, hopefully in the comments I'll know more specifics about it, but I wanted to give you a shot of that, and you can go check that out in our comments here on YouTube, or I will try to put a link to the Welch story on our website at appalachiantalk.org. That way I have more of the Welch story, but I just wanted to show you this. It's such a cool thing to see. It's right here with this other war memorial. Pieces. So then, in a little story I didn't read till I pulled in here, I didn't even know it, so kind of a cool one too, about some bushwhackers in McDowell. And I'll read this to you. In June 1862, Lieutenant Colonel William Russell, 4th West Virginia, ordered Company D to McDowell County after learning that E.V. Harmon and 100 rebels were terrorizing area Unionists. Union troops arrived to find that the guerrillas had left the area in order to join a larger Confederate force near Tazewell, Virginia. Russell's men burned Harmon's headquarters and destroyed 40 bushels of corn. So some of the Civil War history. I'll get back on the road here and go to more of the downtown area. Alrighty, so I'm coming back into Welch from a different angle in that intersection we were just at, where the French gratitude train was, and kind of something interesting caught my eye here. Hopefully there's a story behind it, I don't know, but I saw that there was an advertisement for a little motel down here. It's called the Hailu Motel, Welch's finest, and I don't know if that's something new or old, or if there's any story there at all. Somebody let me know if you catch this video and know the story. But I just got behind a bunch of ATVs and motorcycles. I mean, about 100 it looked like, so hopefully I'll avoid them again, but we shall see. Okay, so please do a time stamp. I don't know 9 out of 10 of these buildings, maybe even less than that. So people that know the history of these buildings and locations, please comment and put a timestamp of what's where, because I promise you I won't do this place justice. I promise you that right now. I'll guarantee it. Anyway, Welch was actually became the county seat of McDowell County in 1892, which was actually before it was even incorporated into a city. But it is named after Isaiah Welch, who was had been a captain in the Confederate Army. He surveyed the town and planned it out at the confluence of Tug Fork and Elkhorn Creek. So, and the population in 2010 was about 2,400 people here, and that's way down from its heyday. Which is why when I drive around here, it looks like a much bigger city than it really is as far as population. The infrastructure is just massive for that type of population. But at one time, it was a major player in the coal business. And there's the sheriff's office now. A lot of violent history here too, which comes with the territory. Anytime you talk about mining, a lot of violent history. I'll get into some of that here in a few minutes. We'll see, let you guys see. This is a little bit more of the residential mixed with some of the municipal buildings and that type of thing. And this is more heading into the downtown area. And there's the Welch Municipal Building, speaking of which. You can see some of these older buildings. Welch has done better than most of these cities in recouping in its downtown. It's there was a lot of flooding has happened through here, and I came right after one, and you talk about depressing. It was heartbreaking to see. It's a movie theater. There's the Renaissance Village. Kind of cool. They don't care. This is much improved since even the last time I was here, so they've definitely spent a lot of money on rehabbing this town. Or city, I should say. There's the MC&B Bank, an old structure, and there's the courthouse, and I got a story about that here in a second. We'll park and go over there and talk. And there's the courthouse and the annex. McDowell County Commission. There's Court Street, and there's the Welch Daily News. So we'll go in the circle around through here, and there's some famous pictures about how crowded this place was. I think there's one near Christmas time or something where it's just jam-packed with people, and it's obviously not like that at all anymore. Here's the old 76 station. Last time I was here, that was open. There's an elderly gentleman that worked there. It's pretty well known through here, but I don't see him today. I hope he's still with us. Let me turn this thing around and go down to where... Well, actually, let me go down here for just a second and show you a little bit more of the residential area. Some people that are originally from here like to see that kind of stuff, which maybe Steve Harvey will watch this someday. Steve Harvey, if you ever watch it, let me know. That'd be great. He was an original native from here. A lot of famous people came through this area. They moved on and primarily went to auto industry and that type of thing. Went to Detroit, in Ohio, worked in different types of auto industry. I'll get this thing turned around and go back down to the downtown area again. A lot of the local historians know this place very well. Unfortunately, you're stuck with me, but I actually interviewed a guy named Jay Chapman from down here, and I need to post that video because it's fascinating. He is probably, to me, one of, if not the most foremost knowledgeable people about script and that type of thing. I just love talking to him. He's a font of information, and I know he's still active out here. He does some presentations about coal mining, and he just does a fantastic job. He's a smart guy, man, just a very knowledgeable dude. And I hate when I have to admit somebody's a lot smarter than I am, but Jay Chapman, I got to give it up, brother. You got me beat all to pieces. I love these murals too. Those are great, and I'll look at that old service station again. But all these murals are wonderful. It captures the history very well. And like I said, the one time I came down here and it just flooded. Man, you talk about depressing. I mean, it was the area was just completely gutted. Buildings pushed into each other, and it was a disaster. But they fixed all that up, and they've continued to spend money on it now, I can tell. And here is this mural as well. Pull in here and give you a shot of that. This was just absolutely fascinating, to me at least. Captures the old history of it. And it made that old building look brand new again. Get my little vessel turned around and get back on the road in a second. Give you a look in the opposite direction of that street. We'll head back on the road. You see all these older buildings, mostly vacant these days, but at least they've been cleaned up. And you can see that there's potential for a rebound at some point. And this is a very famous park. It's the old municipal parking building, and that is where John F. Kennedy came and gave his speech. A very famous speech. You'll see pictures of him standing up and giving that. And obviously West Virginia was largely instrumental in him winning the presidency. So the John F. Kennedy history is deep in this state, but particularly in Welch, McDowell County, because he really came and put the time in and treated people with respect, and that really went a long way and was sincere, or at least he seemed sincere, so fooled me. And that really goes a long way with people, even now. It's like that, people very understanding and patient and everything else with you if they feel like you're legit and you're telling them, being straight with them. So, find a place to park here, and then I'll jump out here and tell a little bit more of the story about the courthouse. Getting back to my President Kennedy story, he came in 1960 as part of his push to become president, and what he saw was that mechanization had already started taking over. It really took over probably in the 50s, where machines were starting to replace a lot of the jobs that men were doing. So mines would operate with far less manpower than they had previously, which left a lot of people displaced. And a lot of those folks, they were first generation immigrants and everything else. So, they didn't know what to do. There was just a panic situation, and so there's a lot of unemployment, a lot of people on government assistance, and this was before food stamps and all that kind of stuff came around, and actually led to that. A lot of people think directly, where Lyndon Johnson, and matter of fact, someone in, I think it was Yeager, was the first family in there. Yeager was the first people to receive food stamps in the entire United States. But it was caused by the loss of jobs, and as you can see, this city, there are people, at one time it was a boom town. There's houses on every hillside and everywhere they could cram one because there was such a demand. And it was just, like I said, a boom town, and people were finding jobs, and it was just like a gold rush. And then when that ended, people and the city and nothing was prepared to deal with that. And so that's where, when President Kennedy comes along and sees this poverty, and obviously it's gotten a lot worse since then, but you see these people struggling, living hand to mouth, and it affects you. I don't care how you as a human being, looking around and seeing people struggle like that made an impact. And I think that really was why he always kept West Virginia close to his heart, and truly did try to make changes for the betterment of the area. And I'm about as middle of the road politically guy you'll ever meet, so if I'm saying that, it's because I believe it to be the truth. So go down through here, and it looks like another abandoned school of some sorts. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's a factory. It looks like more of a factory. Take that. I don't know. Maybe it is a school. Yeah, how smart I am. That's a really cool tunnel right there. I love seeing that kind of stuff. Those are very pretty photographs. We'll head head back down to the downtown area and talk a little bit more about this. And the truth of the matter is that the Democrat Party had a stranglehold on West Virginia for decades, and I mean decades. That's why you still have some holdovers like Joe Manchin and some of those people who are part of that. I don't know that they would vote for a guy like Manchin now so much. He's just established and incumbent, but he's obviously very moderate compared to what he used to be, and certainly what the Democrat Party used to be, because this is truly Trump kind of. I was not seeing the first Joe Biden yard sign or anything else from the whole trip up through here, because this is coal country. And it's kind of sad too. This is the first election that I don't, certainly personally, I've not heard a single person even acknowledge coal one way or the other on either party. It's almost irrelevant. And it's kind of sad, because it used to always be a talking point of some sorts, and it just makes you feel like it's, for lack of better words, it don't matter. And West Virginia, of course, has very few electoral votes, but it was a prominent player for years and years and years politically. And the fact that it voted for Kennedy in the primaries really sent a message too that a Catholic could become president, and it really launched him. So he always had a lot of loyalty to the place, so I've got loyalty to him, even though I don't necessarily vote that way or not. I don't really get all passionate about it, but I'll get out here in the courthouse and a little bit more of the story. As you can see, this courthouse is as steep as a horse's face. It's one of the most famous structures in Welch, and you're about to find out why. It's a great view of downtown area too. And I'll read it off the sign. And it's the story of Sid Hatfield. So you can read that there yourself. But born in Kentucky, Sid Hatfield worked as a blacksmith and coal miner before being named chief of police in McDowell of McDowell County, which is nearby. Sympathetic to unionization efforts in that county, he joined striking miners on May 19, 1920, in a shootout known as the McDowell Massacre with Baldwin Felt agents. His murder in 1921 led to miners' march on Logan and Battle of Blair Mountain. Well, along these courthouse steps, he was assassinated by some Baldwin Phelps detectives. They got the heads up that he was going to be in court, and they shot him dead here. And really, this guy, Hatfield, the name, you think of Hatfield and McCoy, and he is a part of that family, but also a big part of those, what they call the mine wars. And it's part of the McDowell Massacre, where some Baldwin Felts agents and who ran they were basically their own police agency for the coal companies. So they had a shootout with the local police force, which included Sid Hatfield, and actually led to the mayor of McDowell being shot dead in the street in McDowell. And if you watch my McDowell video, I show you some of the bullet holes still in that building. And they just reopened the Mine Wars Museum, and they've actually added and expanded it, and it's fantastic. A friend of mine, Kim McCoy, runs it, so works there and tells the story wonderfully. But anyway, this right here is a big part of the history, and it's where Sid Hatfield was shot dead coming to court. The sign tells a little bit more about it too. On August 1st, 1921, former McDowell Chief of Police Sid Hatfield and Ed Chambers were murdered on the courthouse steps by Baldwin Phelps agents. 3 men were charged in the murders but were acquitted because those mine companies had a lot of stroke back in the day. And it was just really, if you haven't read about the mine wars and it's the Battle of Blair Mountain and all that stuff, man, it's hard to believe it happened in this country. Just amazing, really. And it was really just you talk about labor strife. This area is notorious for strikes and violence, but it's just kind of weird to think that somewhere along here, someone was assassinated, shot dead coming to court. And Hatfield, Sid Hatfield, even they call him Smiling Sid, even to this day, it's just an absolute local legend, especially in Matewan, McDowell County. He was just a local hero. So, and you can read more about him at the Mine Wars Museum. There's a lot of his information there. Be good to show a street view too and get out of my car. Tyson Tower. That sounds Flatiron Drugstore. And another look at the parking garage. And again, this is where President Kennedy, or soon to be President Kennedy, gave his speech. And there's pictures of that. Like him standing right under this thing, and really helped to launch his presidential bid. I thought it was nice to get out of the car and give you a little bit of a view from ground level. And there's a new theater, which is pretty neat. And for such a small town, that's pretty good. So it's First National Bank building. But this street was just so hopping back in its day. Just amazing to think what its population has dropped down to. Even back, I worked at a bank probably 20 years ago, maybe longer than that. And I used to come down here for some business. And I mean, it's hard to get parking and everything then. It was a lot busier than it is now. And so it's just so sad to see the population continue to drop. It looks like that sign, that old worn out sign says, I think, Raymond's. Somebody might be able to tell me more about that. But there's just a look at the downtown area. I thought you might want me to get out and jump out and look at that. And this is a water tower, or water tank, whatever, with the mural on it. Looks like it needs to be spruced back up. Very impressive at one time, and still is, but to a degree of what's left of it. If you can see down through here or not. Occasionally I've gotten some great pictures from up here, but I don't think it's cleared enough. No, not today. I'll tell another story about Welch, though, while I'm thinking about it, is that they, about the same year, 1921, when Sid Hatfield was gunned down, the mayor, a guy by the name of J.H. Witt, had, the town council was looking to remove him from office, and there was a bunch of commotion about that, so he came in and interrupted a meeting, a town council meeting. The town council had the McDowell County Sheriff's Department start to investigate Witt. And apparently that didn't set very well with him. He ended up killing a deputy, a guy by the name of, I do believe it was William Johnson Tabor was the name. And so he killed him. They arrested him. He was taken to trial, and he was acquitted because some of the testimony was perjury. It was perjured testimony, and so once he got acquitted, he skipped town, was never seen again. So yet another just odd facet to the Welch story. I want to take a view of this, especially these beautiful colors out. So I'll wrap up this little video tour of Welch, West Virginia. And please, in the comments, tell me what all I did miss. I will be back. So I hope to pick up on some of the things that I missed this first go around. I love learning about this little city. It's just a fascinating place to me. So much history, so much importance, and just way too much to not know more about. I hope you guys enjoyed this look at Welch, and thanks for liking, subscribing. You're sponsoring our videos with your donations and everything else you do to help support us. And I don't remember what that does. I think it's senior citizens, maybe. Elkhorn Towers. So somebody tell me what that does too. It would be greatly appreciated. But I'll make another little sweep through town here just to give you another view as much as possible, because I know, like I said, there's a lot of interest in towns like this, a lot of interest. And like I said earlier, I expect this to be eventually, maybe not off the jump, but it'll eventually be one of the more popular videos I've done. I'm sure of that. so many people came from this area. You know, the McDowell County population at one time was over 100,000 or right in that vicinity, and I think it's down to like 20,000. So all these people migrated away, and their family wants to know more about their origins, and they come, and I hear, I mean, it's probably, I won't say daily, but at least weekly, and that I hear from somebody from the area wanting to know more about it. So I was lucky to get an opportunity to come down here today to do this video for you. I hope you enjoyed it, and like I said, folks that know more about it, please fill me in the comments. That's what they're there for, and I'll be happy to revisit this place some point in the future and hopefully fill in some of the blanks that I've left today, but hopefully at least give you a good base and realize why Welch and McDowell County are important players in American history. And did I do it justice? Maybe not, but hey, I did the best I could do.